favorite parts of my job as a pastor is picking what goes on the front of the bulletin. So the sermon title today is Breastfeeding and Homemaking, Living Milk and Living Stones. It looks like a breast and a wall, doesn't it? See it? A breast and a wall. Aren't you excited? Okay, these things really excite me. All right. So, in order to be prepared for this meditation, we have to have some historical context, and so I'm giving you a quiz. So hopefully you have something to write with. It's going to be a very quick quiz with 7 questions. And I'm going to go quickly. I'm not going to repeat any questions. And so put your best guess down. Okay? It's kind of like, how do we live in time? You know? And where do these words come from in time? Are you ready?
Yeah.
Yes. No. Yes. Quick, quick. Get a pen. Get a pencil. Ready? And question number 1. What is the normally given date for the Exodus? The date for the Exodus, when Moses led the slaves out of Egypt. What's the date? Quickly. Number 2. What is the date of the destruction of the temple in Jerusalem? The destruction of the temple in Jerusalem. Number 3. What is the date of the settlement of Jamestown? Number 4. When was formula invented? The substitute for breast milk. When was formula invented? Number 5. What is the date on the cornerstone of this building? Oh, I know one person who knows. Number 6. 911. What was the year? 911 occurred in what year? And last, to see how far your dementia is gone, what is today's date? All right, so the answers are coming from the last to the first. Today is, you even had a cheater guide, May the 14th, 2017. Give yourself a point. 911 occurred in year 2001. Give yourself a point. Jane, what is the date on the cornerstone of this building? 1876. Give yourself a point. Who knows when formula was invented? 1887. Good guess. 1867. Post-Civil War. Who knew? And next, Jamestown. The settlement of Jamestown happened in 1607. 1607. Okay. The destruction of the temple in Jerusalem. This may be the most important date. 70 what?
AD 7.
Is it AD?
CE.
CE. There we go. Common era. 70 AD CE. 70. 70. And the date typically used for the Exodus, much disputed, but a conservative scholar would give this date. Anybody have a guess? 1430 BCE, the 15th century before Christ. And so stay tuned to see where your answers fit into this meditation. Did anybody get 7 points? 6, 5, 4, 3? All right, you two are the prize winners. Breastfeeding and homemaking. Normal, imaginable, wonderful images for how God is at work in the world. might sing cheerily about them and not fully appreciate the radical nature of being breastfed by God and of being built by God into something that is ever changing. Yes, it is Mother's Day. No, we are not all mothers. No, we didn't even all like our mothers. But somebody had to give us milk. No human being on this planet will get far without milk. Let's pray. God who comes to us as we need you, as we desire you, and sometimes as we resist you. May your word be spoken. May we hear it and live it through Christ. Amen. So, really two images, as Naomi said, that we're going to look at today. And if you do not have a Pew Bible open, I think it's helpful to kind of see where this falls in the Bible. So 2 Peter, the 2nd chapter, the 2nd verse. Reads like this. Like newborn infants, not just like babies, like newborn infants, long for, desire, be totally bent upon, fixated upon, right? Pure milk. Now, many translations say pure spiritual milk. But it's interesting that the word is rarely translated as spiritual because it's logikos. It's from logic. Pure logical milk? Pure, plain and simple? There's no other way to do it, milk? So before we get too spiritual, let's kind of stick with the text. Like newborn infants, desire pure, simple, plain old, concrete milk. Why? So that by it you may grow into salvation, if indeed you have tasted that the Lord is good. So I am privileged to be a mother, and I was privileged to nurse my children, and there's nothing like it. Now, it can be a tremendous strain to have somebody need you every 2 hours, and sometimes more frequently. To kind of be attached to another person so you can't really go very far away from them. To realize that this miracle has come out of me and now is totally dependent on me or somebody to give milk regularly. So it's important to really sink into the feeling of the image. Now, who's giving us this milk? Well, I would say it's divine milk, right? Who else enables us to grow? And so, like a newborn, be fixated on one thing, that thing that's keeping you alive, so that you may grow into salvation. And that word salvation can be a tough one. What on earth does that really mean? And I like what Barbara Brown Taylor says. She says, I have to know every day what is saving me. Something has to save me every day. Something has to put me in my right mind. Something has to set me free. Something has to ensure that I'm not all tangled up in what's killing me. Something has to liberate me. All those are words for salvation. Something has to heal me and make me whole every day. See, because our old theology says, are you saved? Tell me the day and the time. You're good. That's not our theology. That's not the theology here. It's saying at any given moment, we have the ability to recognize a deep desire for the one thing we need the most. Is it scripture? Is it a kind word from a friend? Is it beauty? forgiveness? Is it hope? What is going to keep me? What is going to keep you going at that place which, as I said last week, sometimes we fill up with other things because our true desire is a little scary to face sometimes. Because it's so primal. You need it. But if you put cookies in there, or perfectionism, or any of the bazillion process or object addictions, you're not going to even know what you desire. So I think this text is saying if you want to grow into liberation, part of you has to go back to the beginning every day and say, God, be my mother today. How are you going to be my mother today? How am I going to keep growing today? And I love the verse 3, if indeed you have tasted that the Lord is good. Boy, once a baby's tasted that breast milk, you know, that's all they want. Give them a bottle of water? I don't think so. And so we've had experiences. We can look back and say, yes, I have been mothered by God. Yes, I have been saved. Yes, I can remember those days. Therefore, I'll keep going back. I'll keep being born again and again and again into a living hope. I've mentioned before, I know, that in the earliest church, to be baptized meant that you're prepared for a long, long, long time. And then often at night, the night before Easter, you went into a special room, you took all your old clothes off till you were naked. And then you went into the baptismal font, which is often an octagonal shape, and went all the way underwater. And then you rose out of that water like a baby comes out of the water of the womb. And you're given brand new clothes. And you're taken into the room where all the other believers were gathered. And you're given not wine and bread, milk. So some people say that these words came from a baptismal sermon. Here, you're a beginner. Start with milk. So, and one thing I will add here, and I will send you the link, I found a great sermon by a pastor lactation consultant who had 12 illustrations about how nursing was the perfect image for growing in faith. But her first was that milk is living. Milk has living stuff in it. So we're on this living bench, right? Living hope. Living milk. And now living stones. So we've honored the feminine. When I think of masonry, I confess, I think of men. I don't know, any of you women build a stone wall or a stone house? Not yet. I like that answer. So we're shifting worlds dramatically from this intimate beginning of life thing to something that takes quite a bit of skill. Now you need to know that when you hear stone, it doesn't say rock. A rock is like you go out there and find a rock. A stone is hewn. Okay, so stones would be what you need to build with because they have to fit together, okay? Verse 4. You've tasted that the Lord is good. Come to him, to the Lord, a living stone. Though rejected by mortals, yet chosen and precious in God's sight, and we, like living stones, let yourselves be built into a spiritual house, a numinous house, to be a holy priesthood, to offer spiritual numinous, full of breath, sacrifices accepted to God through Christ Jesus. Okay, here's where the quiz comes in. One writer, Jerry Truitz, who's a Mennonite Brethren scholar, says, the loss of the temple the destruction of the temple after Jesus' death in 70 AD, the loss of the temple was a 911 event, but on a much more devastating scale. Okay, we're talking about stones and stones being built. You have to know that these people, though they may not have been Jewish, are joining a Jewish movement that's gone Christian, right? They're joining a big, long story. A story that went thousands of years, 15 centuries before Jesus. 15 centuries. You got that? 1,500 years before Jesus. And that was a cumulative story of people seeking God and seeking intimacy with God and seeking to know God's word, to live in intimacy with God, and to offer sacrifices, to have a way of dealing with this God whom we can't see. And so there was a first temple, Solomon's temple, that was destroyed. There was a second temple. There was a huge historical story about why to have a temple and why in Jerusalem and what it meant. It basically meant this is the center of the universe. That's what the temple meant. This is the seat where the only sacrifices that really get to God can happen. This is God's house. This is where the Spirit, the glory of God, dwells in God's house. And this is the center of the kingdom. No, the empire. No, the entire universe that is going to be led by the Jews as God's chosen people. So, around 30 or so AD, there's this kerfluffle of this guy who comes into the temple, starts tossing tables over. Some people said, yeah, he said he'd destroy the temple and build it back up. He's threatening to destroy the temple. He's got to go. That is dangerous. Do you see why? 15 centuries, the center of the universe. And Jesus is inviting people to see the temple in an entirely different way, as God's house for all people. No separate little chambers. And what does it say? It happened on Jesus' death. The curtain of the temple, the curtain into the Holy of Holies, what? This is the beginning of a new era. And we who have taken the Christian stream would say, we have revised this whole story because we have a different lens. We have the lens of Jesus. And Jews would say, no, our story continues and we are waiting a Messiah. And so for the Jews who are waiting a Messiah, who celebrated Passover year after year, 500,000 people going to Jerusalem. Can you imagine that? 500,000 people to this huge celebration at the temple. And in the Jewish revolt against Rome, the temple was totally destroyed, burned. The stones, the huge stones, were knocked down. The fruit of centuries of work was destroyed and has never been rebuilt. You know, you see the Jews praying where in Jerusalem? At the temple? Where do they pray? At the foundation. The stones that are left are still holy stones to them. So, let me read these verses again, now that you know that. These are people who have seen the whole Jewish religion torn apart. There's no Sanhedrin anymore. There's no ruling body anymore after the destruction of the temple. Jews scatter all around the world. There's no way to atone for sin, right? There's no identity that this is the center of the universe. It's pretty hard to claim if it's in rubble. And where's God's presence? Come to the Lord, a living stone, though rejected by mortals, yet chosen and precious in God's sight. And like living stones, let yourselves be built up into a spiritual house, to be a holy priesthood, to offer spiritual sacrifices acceptable to God through Jesus Christ. We start as newborns figuring out how to get enough strength to understand the key concepts, but we're not done there. Then our job becomes to be the dwelling place of God, the meeting place for God. And these living stones, they can't be killed. They can't be torn down and burned up. They live as the living Christ, as living hope. And they're rearranged often. And in this season, I see major rearranging of the stones again. And some people would say, that's our cornerstone right there. And we know exactly who that Jesus is, and that's the only cornerstone. And other people would say, well, our cornerstone's over here. Like our cornerstone, these stones do not fit together. And this is the sign that the living stone is at work, saying, what is the dwelling place for God now? Where is it? Who makes it? As a good preacher, 1 Peter cites 5 Old Testament texts. And I'm not going to do that. But just to note, he's taken then the essential pieces of the long, long story and said, now think about this. If you think about this in Jesus, and I'll just give you the last one. Once you were no people, but now you are God's people. Once you had not received mercy, but now you have received mercy. You're a people. You're God's people. And your identifying characteristic is mercy. You are labeled with mercy. That's how God's people are known. Where does that text come from? Exodus. And the writer says, no, the story is going on, but it looks so different. So, my friends, what's going to save you this week? Seriously, I'm working on saving my sanity after a week like this of news. What saves us? What keeps us steady and purposeful? What keeps us living in hope? What is that desire? So the first opportunity is to go to our primal self and listen and say, what is that fundamental stuff that tastes like love that I need? And like living stones, to not be stuck in place, but let yourselves, you know how the verb is? Let yourselves be built. Don't stick in your little wall and say, this is my wall, I'm staying here and I don't care what you say. No. We are in this huge story of millennia. And God is still creating God's house as a place of mercy. This is good news to me. I hope it's good news to you. And I am going to invite something that I think I can only pull off at Florence Church of the Brethren, and I only have 6.5 months as a pastor to pull off stuff like this. So our first song in the hymnal talks about this house we are. So take out your hymnal. Open it to number 1. What is this place? What is this place? This spiritual house, this place of living stones. Okay, so is it okay to use the word bosom in relationship to God and sing it? How do you know? We have one, a really good one. Children of the Heavenly Father safely in His bosom gather. So, okay, so verse 3, if you would like, you could sing, and we accept milk at her bosom, nourishing us, a living sign. I mean, it's Mother's Day. And I think textually I can make a good argument for that. And we accept milk at her bosom, nourishing us, a living sign. Would you stand? Where are you seeing hope? Or where do you desperately want to see hope? We have been using these grave cloths through this season, and before you write your message for today, I invite you to read what's written. What are other people's hopes? Go in some time in silence, and when you're ready to bring your hopes and your offerings, please do.